let me ask you a selfish question.
Right.
Someone like me,
Yes.
can I train as a special forces, not for the government, for me personal, so that when I feel like quitting natoka, can I do that? Ya kung'ara tu na mtani ingie Kariobangi usiku as in. Can I do that? Just badala ya kwenda gym peke yake.
No.
No.
Wait.
Actually, all these things that you do, you do it for the benefit of the bigger goal.
Yes.
When I chose to become a Special Forces operator, actually, the idea was not born by the time I joined the Army as a cadet officer in 2005. I just wanted to challenge myself. You know, I wanted to belong among the finest there was on offer. So when I did go through the cadet training, I believe I graduated among the top 1% in our class.
Okay.
And I was among the only 8, among 150 who joined the parachute regiment. And the parachute regiment is up there for people to volunteer. No one gets forced to go in there. So you got to be super motivated and want to get there. Allowance ilikuwa 3,000 shillings per month. That's not something that you throw your
train as a special forces.
To train as a paratrooper.
Paratrooper.
Yes, and it was the highly operational. You're all over the place. Nyindo mnatumwa, you know, the highest risk operations. So yes. That is not something that you would talk about Giritatu Quadrat, right?
Yes.
So you got to be serving a bigger goal and vision than yourself. So you got to belong to a unit that you feel you are self-motivated for. So, I mean, the raw material has got to be there in the first place. Wezi anza na mbuzi, then you expect to get a lion at the back end of the production. That actually is a calling. 3,000 for all that training.
Yes. Na MCA and I make 25,000 per day. Kunyonya tu tear gas, that's the worst they can do. That's the worst they can do. Sindio?
Yes.
How do you feel when you watch a military movie?
Wow. I used to be, I think some of those really inspired me to be what I am today.
Okay.
When I was in secondary school, straight from primary, I think primary 7, 8, you know, the Rambo movies back in the day.
Yes.
I knew all the Shaolins, I guess, by the time I was in secondary school.
Yes.
But I mean, these days we critique. If you get a bunch of us watching stuff, we critique. We go like, Chukwa left, or he's gone left or right.
Yes,
we get really worked up because you'd critique. You'd see a lot of flaws, mistakes, tactical errors, really refined, you know, kind of stuff that we do that you'd watch, like the Alfred Mutuas. With all due respect, the Alfred Mutuas, was it a Rambo movie or something? Cobra Squad, absolutely. I mean, all of them could be ranging around that, and unless there are documentaries that have been done by people who have inside information about the mechanics, how things work. But, you know, they're pretty boring, in most part, especially the Rambo ones that we watch back
basically,
in the day.
when we get impressed by what Jason Statham does in his movies, you are like, nah.
Yeah, absolutely, to some extent, yes.
So, iso vitu, chini ya maji, in your own space, you can do them.
Man, yes, to be sincere, you guys are now being treated to quite a few exposures of the Special Forces, you know, ops. You've seen people go down to business, you know, in town. It's, not thanks, but I'd have said thanks to terrorism. But I mean, you've now had to see people demonstrate that capacity and capability, which is really deadly to see. And yes, we've been in the theater, same theater. So you see some of the things that you'd watch with a lot of awe in the past. And you're in the theater and you're doing them, and you'd be in a minute thrashed into the jungle doing jungle warfare business, and it's really crazy, and you got to be very sure-footed, you don't crack a twig like you see in the movies.
Yes.
I did that for 6 months in Mount Elgon. And you come back the next minute and you are in a completely different theater, and you're supposed to get back home and you're doing coffee with your friends as a perfect normal guy.
How do you transition from that? And that's where you come in. Probably Byron can tell us how the experience is, and then you can tell us where those who break. Actually, because in terms of the battlefield, right?
Yes.
We end up guns all over the place one time, and then you come back, you're comfortable home, you're having coffee with your friends, as you've said, but then you have to go back.
Yes, and it's in training, eh? As I said, the perfect, you know, mismatch, if you wish, or the irony, for that matter, is that you are expected to operate with an absolute organization and absolute, thoroughness within a pretty chaotic environment. And that trains a very outstanding character trait in you, which is of absolute adaptation. So you can be very, very adaptable, and very, very, just like split second like that. And then, flexibility, one of the most important things that I learned. Now, look at it from this perspective. You could be building a house, so say it's a steel house.
Yes.
That, and as opposed to a concrete house, a house that is strong enough, but is able to move with the wind without crumbling. That is the focus that we have. So the mission requires this, and the vision is there. The training has been, in you, and you got the right equipment to do the business with. And you're out there, and you're balancing so many variables and factors at play. But because of the training and all these things that the whole of that has imparted in you, you are able to switch just like that from one to the next. Now, the downside is this could pack into a lot of things all at once. Look, I tell people my stories and they think I had 50 years to live in the army to just achieve all that. You can, hijack a moving vehicle, it could be, interdiction ops, the serious stuff, jump off a helicopter, you do parachuting here and there, be in the jungle next, be in Somalia next, and you sat on top of the target, literally you watching the enemy from a stone throw away, and your life is on the balance. And no one, you are the most specialized of guys, quite a few guys would have the to get there, the oomph to get there, and get you out if the balloon were to go up. Okay. Yeah, but that's your training. So you can imagine so it really packs a lot in your mental psyche and the mental phases and facets of your life that would match. I don't know. I mean, several Harvards and you graduating with first class honors more than 4 times to just develop as a special forces operator. So once you're out of that, sometimes it gets really weigh you down. Okay. Some of the experiences are pretty crazy. Yes. You as human beings, we are not wired to take each other's lives. Yeah. Say that. So some of that, and you see a lot, and people's like flesh. We saw quite a bit in post-election violence, let's say. Yeah. And they're all torn, all over the place, and you're supposed to get them and pack them sometimes into vehicles. People burn people down, and burn people in vehicles, and dogs are taken away. And you're seeing all that, okay? Within a very short period of time, it changes you. It doesn't leave you unscathed.
The normal person.
Okay? So it changes you in profound ways. And that's why it's really vital to have someone else who's going to look at you from a different perspective and tell you, hey, there's a problem with you. And not just that, in a good way, in a way that would get you out of that perspective. Because we are mental beings,
And that's where
the psychological help is very important. It addresses that downside. Okay. Just so that you have, the traction that this force needs to ride on, the capacity and the capability of a force, or military for that matter, rides on the strength of its human resources.
The Nini does not help the...
To be very sincere, contrary to common belief, and let me demystify that, is it's actually illegal to be, any kind of drugs, to abuse any kind of drugs in the army. Drug abuse, let alone thinking of the kind of drugs people think, those are the questions we get asked.
I've heard rumors that bangi yenu inatengeneza ngwa kama ile unga ya grade 1. Refined. Refined. As in haina mbegu and stuff. It's not.
It's not.